Hello there, a very good morning from the capital Jakarta, Indonesia. You are watching our special report here on TVR World, shining a light on the 80 years anniversary of the Indonesian Armed Forces. And for the next couple of hours, we'll bring you live pictures from the central Jakarta of National Monument or Monas, where all the actions will take place. The ceremony, the parade, the much anticipated defile of Indonesian Armed Forces. And right here in the studio, we'll bring you insightful conversations as well. And I'm extremely honored to be joined by two very special guests this morning to talk us through the celebrations of our TNI. Join me right next to me is the Director of Research of Indo-Pacific Strategic Intelligence, or ISI Indonesia, is actually the Executive Director, Kuri Maharani. Makuri, thank you very much for joining me this morning. And at the end of our conversation table is the former Indonesian Air Force Chief of Staff from 2002 to 2005. Very honored to join us this morning, Mr. Chappy Hakim. Pak Chappy, thank you very much for joining me this morning.
Thank you very much. Good
morning. And to both of you for being such an early riser on a Sunday morning to be here in the studio, very much appreciated. And without further ado, let's just kick off our program. I'm Rahmat Idris. This is Special Report, 80 years of Indonesia's armed forces. And we will now go live to the National Monument or Monas of Jakarta, Indonesia, where the main ceremony is about to begin, and it is now proceeding with the initial air show by the Jupiter aerobatic team. Let's take a look at all the actions ongoing right now as we speak.
With bombers. Bombers! Now! Let's give a thunderous round of applause for the Jupiter for their remarkable skill and performance. Demikianlah penampilan dari Jupiter Aerobatic Team, kebanggaan Tentara Nasional Indonesia. Selamat hari ulang tahun ke-80 Tentara Nasional Indonesia. Terima kasih dan salam The Jupiters.
Hadirin dan tamu undangan yang berbahagia, sesaat lagi akan kita ikuti jalannya upacara Hari Ulang Tahun ke-80 Tentara Nasional Indonesia, Perisai Trisula Nusantara, Sishankam-Rata, tahun 2025. Demi tertib dan hikmatnya upacara, bagi yang membawa telepon genggam atau alat komunikasi lainnya, dimohon berkenan untuk dinonaktifkan atau diatur pada mode diam selama upacara berlangsung. Hadirin dan tamu undangan yang kami hormati, pada upacara Hari Ulang Tahun ke-80 Tentara Nasional Indonesia, Perisai Trisula Nusantara, Sishankam-Rata, tahun 2025. Bertindak selaku Komandan Upacara, Letnan Jenderal TNI Bambang Trisno Hadi MA, lulusan Akademi Militer tahun 1993, jabatan Panglima Komando Gabungan Wilayah Pertahanan 3. Bertindak selaku Cadangan Komandan Upacara Letnan Jenderal TNI Marinir Nur Alamsyah SEMM MTRhan, lulusan Akademi Angkatan Laut tahun 1989, jabatan Komandan Komando Pendidikan dan Latihan TNI Angkatan Laut.
And you are now watching live pictures from the 80th anniversary of Indonesian Armed Forces as the formal ceremony to mark the anniversary has just started. It was begun with the aerobatic air show from the Indonesian Air Force Jupiter team. And right now, as you see it, the surroundings of central Jakarta is packed by passers-by and crowds joining in the euphoric moments of celebration. Let me turn to my guests as we watch all of the visuals from the venue. I'd like first go over to you, Pak Cepi. We had a glimpse, a very short visuals before we start the ceremony this morning of the extravagant aerobatic show on behalf of Jupiter team of Indonesia. What more can you tell us about all the amazing features and prominence? Tell us more about this Jupiter team.
Yeah. In every country, in every air force of the country, they have the aerobatic team. Yeah. Aerobatic team is a representative of the air force because they demonstrate what the discipline, teamwork, leadership, and whatever they need in the day-to-day air force activities. So they represented, they demonstrated in the organizing with the aircraft, so all the people knows how the Air Force have to be appear as one among the armed forces as a whole. So they have the duty as to keep or to defend our country, especially in the airspace, right, especially in air and space of our sovereignty.
Right.
That's the idea of the aerobatic team in every air force in every country.
I see. And we looked at all the amazing maneuvers of the pilots that they made during the show, Pak Cepi, which bears in mind that it is not an easy thing to qualify to become a Jupiter pilot, and you yourself received the title of honorary pilot by the United States Air Force back in 2004, which is an amazing feat on behalf of our Indonesian pilots. Tell me, how did that come to be, that sort of become the president of all the amazingness of our Indonesian pilots domestically and internationally, Pak Cepi?
Yeah, Air Force is very typical. They close to the fast development of technology. So we heard that the spatial terminology in Air Force family, universally, the Air Force are in one spirit. They have they have a lot of responsibilities to be a guard of their country. And in the Air Force, because the technology heavy, so the consequences is they have to be disciplined, in high level of discipline. They have to obey any regulation, any law, any standard procedures. Otherwise, they become facing the trouble. So actually the technology is the conveyor belt to civilization. What this mean? Because in the civilization society, everybody have to obey the regulation, have to obey the law, have to obey the procedures. There's no other choice. Instead of you have to obey, you have to have the high discipline. And high discipline is not enough. So that they need the close monitoring, continuous close monitoring to that. And the Air Force, because a lot of the equipment is the technology. Technology is very fast development.
That's right.
You can imagine that the first aircraft from the Wright brothers is 1903. They only fly several meters, but only 66 afterward. The production of the aircraft is amazingly, it's very fantastic. They can produce the SR-71 that can flew 3 times the speed of sound.
Wow.
You can imagine that's only 66 years. That's how fast the development of aviation technology.
Right. So technology is another layer of our technological advancements of Air Force that we're going to delve deep later on in the program, Pak JP. But just to sum up what you say, it takes a superhuman level of discipline and strength to become one of those very amazing pilots. Let me go over to you, Mbak Kuri. Now that we've seen the much anticipated parade of the 80 years anniversary of Indonesian Armed Forces has just taken place right there at the National Monument, I'd like to get your insight. 80 years, same age as we are enjoying our independence essentially, which is sort of a number that should constitute a high level of advancements of our military forces. And 80 years into its celebration today, our Indonesian Armed Forces continues to modernize and improve its defense capabilities. In your opinion, up to this point in time, how do you see the progress of our armed forces in terms of making it more prominent, be it domestically and internationally?
Well, yeah, Mas. Well, congratulations for TNI for its 80th anniversary. We are so proud of you. We are dependent on you to, of course, defend our country. And we hope that you can be the professional armed forces that, you know...
professional armed forces.
Yes, professional
that is
and capable
the word that we are looking for right there, yeah.
With high level of military readiness. Let me just go back to the question about how far the TNI has progressed in terms of military modernization. So, in the past 3 administrations, we had what is called minimum essential forces, which is a long-term military modernization program aimed to create readiness in tackling 2 hotspots in our territory and maintaining 1 reserve components ready for another flashpoint. But so far, although the plan is well crafted at the time, the implementation faltered, especially in the past 2 administrations, because we had, you know, COVID, we had
a lot of challenges
domestic and internationally, including also limitations of technological access by big powers. So, citing the latest, assessment from the Ministry of Defense, we only achieved less than 70% of targeted minimum essential forces. So what does it mean? Looking from the perspective of academics, what we see when we assess military modernization is first how much budget has been absorbed, and we've seen that less of budget for military modernization have been absorbed in the last two administration. And then
So the measure is being absorbed, not just
Yes.
being allocated,
yes,
right? Okay.
it's being absorbed because it's no used to being allocated but not,
But not
absorbed.
being absorbed
And the
optimally.
second is we see the number of contracts being activated is also lessened and lessened. Yeah, so we have signed so many contracts, but less of it getting activated due to a number of reasons.
Okay.
And therefore, when we see the current readiness of our armed forces, in 2025, our organization, EC Indonesia, calculated that the average age of Indonesian weapon system is around 35 years old. So it's
Our weapon system is over 30 years old.
yes, and almost 30% of them are actually second-hand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so instead of having military modernization, what we had is actually military arms maintenance. So we are focusing on maintenance
Which
rather
is
than
costly and not exactly
Yes.
as functional as it should be.
Yes, but
Okay.
not everything is gloomy, of course. So
Okay.
we have first, the good things is we have more and more contribution from our defense industrial base. So more weapons have been provided by our own military industries.
All right, before you go any further, I'd like to go with Pak JP. A lot of interesting facts here, Pak JP, that has been said by Mbak Kuri. From your perspective, sir, share with us up to 80 years of its anniversary of our Indonesian Armed Forces. What sort of modernizations and progress that we have achieved thus far?
Yes, a long decade, we already stepped forward with the minimum essential force.
Okay.
We have to see the reality. Armed forces need a lot of money. It's very expensive, and moreover, the technology is very fast. For example, if we buy the aircraft now, we receive 2 or 3 years afterward.
Right.
And at that time, the new technology has come along. That's the challenge. That's a big challenge. We equip now with the new aircraft, but buy the aircraft is not the solution because the aircraft is the subsystem of the big system, as the whole system. It depends on any related program to procure the aircraft.
Yeah.
For air defense, it's not we not only need the aircraft or jet fighter, because the modern warfare now is transformed to network-centric system. The war nowadays is not war between the armies; it's between nations, because the war has become. We are entering now the cyberspace.
Yeah.
The cyberspace means it uses artificial intelligence, using the autonomous system, and using a drone.
Yeah. Essentially, cyber war.
The cyber war. Cyber has become the 5th domain after land, water, air, and space. And the cyber war is very complicated one.
All right. That's another war that we need to deal with. In the meantime, we are looking at live visuals coming in from the main venue of the 80th celebrations of Indonesian Armed Forces taking place in the surrounding of National Monument of Central Jakarta, Indonesia. You are looking at the visuals of the arrival of the President of the Republic of Indonesia, Prabowo Subianto, alongside horse cavalry there and motorcade alongside the President as he proceeds towards the main venue of the ceremony.
Presiden Prabowo, hal ini juga dilakukan saat pawai mengawal bendera pusaka dan juga teks proklamasi pada saat 17 Agustus, mengawal dari Monas ke istana, dan hari ini kita bisa melihat bahwa pasukan berkuda dan juga motoris ini kembali mengawal, tapi kali ini merupakan Presiden Republik Indonesia yang akan menuju ke lapangan silang Monas untuk bisa menuju ke mimbar kehormatan untuk mengikuti
All right. While we are looking at live visuals right there from the surrounding of National Monument of Indonesia in rejoice of the 80-year celebrations, the military parade of Indonesia's armed forces right here in the studio, we are still joined by our two guests. And I'd like to go back again to Kuri Maharani. Makuri, you mentioned earlier a lot of challenges, a lot of interesting facts, a lot of details that we need to iron out in terms of progressing, advancing military and our defense systems. Less numbers of activated contracts. Our artillery's aging, over 30 years old, some over 35 you mentioned. What are the root cause of all of these lack of progress, essentially, that we have experienced thus far?
Well, the first, of course, following up with
JP statement earlier, yeah?
earlier is about budget. We've been under budgeting our military.
Continue, please.
So we've been under budgeting. We've spent only 0.7 to 0.8% of our GDP on military.
Which is ideally how much?
Ideally, well, if you use the average of Indo-Pacific, countries spend 1.7 to 1.8 of their GDP. And if we talk about the world's average, it's 2.3% of GDP. So we are far, far below, not even half of the world's average. The second is, of course, not only budget, but you have to have a good implementation of the program. As I mentioned before, we have a good plan with MEF. The problem is how are we going to be consistent implementing it? And I think lots of people have mentioned it, but we have problem with our culture, different leadership means different, priorities.
From one administration to the other, priorities shifted, and thus the aimed progress has not been achieved as ideally it would.
Exactly, Mas. And then also we face less and less access to technology, core technology, the more updated version of technology because of the hegemonic competition between the US and the revisionist countries such as Russia and China. And we fall victim because of the countering American adversaries, through Sanction Act called CATSA in 2017. We had to cancel around 4 major procurements because of that, and we have to now figure out how to maintain the existing legacy of Russia weapons of origin. So more dynamics have been affecting our modernization, and I think the current administration led by Pak Prabowo had to figure out how to circumvent all of those.
Right. Now that you mentioned his name, President Prabowo Subianto is right there. He was just alongside the motor gate into the ceremony for the celebration today. This is his inaugural anniversary of Indonesian Armed Forces, having taken the office as the President of Indonesia last October. Another 5 days into 1 year of his own presidency. With his vast military background, Makuri, up to the point that he was the Minister of Defense in the previous administrations, how do you think he will change the landscape of our military stance and defense during his presidency? We've seen a lot of contracts being signed with friends, with Turkey, for example. Your thoughts on this?
Yes, I think Pak Prabowo is not hesitate to introduce major changes or major overhaul in
he
the way
pursues
we approach.
it.
Yes,
those changes,
in the way we approach military modernization now. For example, the procurement of Rafale and Khan, which is 5th generation fighters currently being developed by Turkey, are in large numbers. So it's like a big departure from the previous patterns of buying retail, small amount from many sources. And procuring, one weapon system in large numbers is actually helping leveraging our negotiation positions when it comes to, for example, demanding transfer of technology that we need to maintain and operate the weapon system independently after we purchase them. And then the purchase of Rafale and Khan also signify, different politics of arms diversification. Previously, we diversify our weapon system supplies from many sources, mixing West and East, sources of technology, and it's really, makes us difficult to maintain, to operate, to integrate, and to make sure that all can interoperable when they, in deployment. So Pak Prabowo now choose to be active in engaging geopolitically neutral countries, but strategically compatible with Indonesia. And France and Turkey, they are known as more independent when it comes to foreign policy. Although France is part of NATO, but it has its own, foreign policy.
In terms of purchasing this military artilleries and equipments and vehicles, we may say, but also a lot of approaches in close proximity with Russia, China, and just all of these competing powers around the globe. But on that note, Mbak Kuri, walk us through the main central theme that has been picked for this year's 80th anniversary of Indonesian Armed Forces, which is the awakening of our military forces. Why do you think, in your perspective, the very deep meaning word of awakening has been chosen for this year? Does it echo what you just said, the fact that President Prabowo Subianto is trying to awaken the long dormant power and potentials of our military forces?
Yeah, I think there are two issues that we can understand, by looking at the theme of this celebration. The first is awakening. We've known for so long Indonesian armed forces have been too focused on internal issues,
I see.
And that's why we end up with military posture that is more heavy land-based instead of more archipelagic, balanced kind of forces. And this awakening also signifies that we understand and we respond to the geopolitical dynamics around us. So we build an armed forces that not only focus on what's been the major threats, which is domestic, but we are also aware that more strategic challenges will come from outside, especially from the hegemonic competition of big countries that might spill or drag us into the conflict. So another thing would be the understanding that Indonesian armed forces has been underperforming. We are a large country. We are the largest country in ASEAN, so we should step up and take the leadership, right?
I see.
And I think only recently Indonesian armed forces has started to be deployed outside our territory, and we usually did it under the banner of United Nations. But more recently, we have deployed our armed forces to nearby countries like Australia, Myanmar, to help with the humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, as well as to make sure that we are actively participating in the conflict resolution of our neighborhoods.
Right. And we believe now that the President of the Republic of Indonesia has approached the main podium of the ceremony, that the official opening ceremony for this year's anniversary of 80 years of Indonesian Armed Forces will soon begin. And there you have it. The commander of the ceremony is standing by to mark the start of the ceremony. Let's join in.
Tegak, senjata! Tahu!
Presiden Republik Indonesia berkenan istirahat sejenak di mimbar kehormatan. Undangan disilahkan duduk kembali.
Parade, istirahat, di tempat! Tahu!
Laporan perwira upacara kepada Inspektur Upacara.
Lapor, upacara dalam rangka Hari Ulang Tahun ke-80 Tentara Nasional Indonesia tahun 2025 siap dimulai. Laksanakan.
Presiden Republik Indonesia selaku Inspektur Upacara didampingi Menteri Pertahanan Republik Indonesia, Panglima Tentara Nasional Indonesia, Wakil Panglima Tentara Nasional Indonesia, dan Kepala Staf Angkatan menuju mimbar upacara. Penghormatan kebesaran
Kepada Inspektur Upacara. Hormat, senjata! Tahu! Tegak, senjata! Tahu!
Laporan Komandan Upacara kepada Inspektur Upacara dilanjutkan dengan pemeriksaan pasukan.
Lapor, upacara dalam rangka Hari Ulang Tahun ke-80 Tentara Nasional Indonesia tahun 2025 siap dimulai. Selanjutnya pasukan siap diperiksa.
Laksanakan.
Laksanakan.
All right, now that the main ceremony of the 80 years anniversary of Indonesian Armed Forces is on its way, and you are looking at live visuals from the National Monument of Indonesia, where President of the Republic of Indonesia is currently inspecting the present troops that have been lined up so neatly and so majestically right there at the main venue of this ceremony. Let me go over again to my guests today. I'd like to get your insight, Pa Cepi, if you will. I asked this question to Mbak Kuri earlier about the central theme of this year's celebrations of Indonesian Armed Forces, which is awakening, sir. So why do you think, in your opinion, the word awakening has become a central theme? Does it signify the fact that our administrations, our leaderships is gearing towards the steps of awakening our armed forces essentially towards a better modernization and progress? Share with us your thoughts on this.
The new era, we facing the many people said our world now in the condition of global disorder.
Global disorder.
Global disorder.
And geopolitical turmoil and
of
conflicts
course.
around the globe.
Of course, yeah. And the color of the world now is a very contrast with the appearance of China, U.S.-China trade war, and Ukraine-Russia, and South China Sea.
Exactly.
All of this as a challenge. Every country look at that as a challenge that threatening the national security of their own country. And nowadays in Indonesia as well, our military equipment in the time to renewal, to upgrading. Yeah, they are coincident with the global disorder situation, with the military equipment condition. So maybe the president have the policy how to make the awakening in this commemoration, in this celebration of our armed forces. It is more the moral as well as all the personnel.
The spirit of the armed forces.
Yes, exactly. The spirit of the military personnel. Men and women in uniform, this terminology in US, as Pentagon said, men and women in uniform, it means the member of the Army, US Army, US Navy, US Air Force, US Marine. They have to have the one slogan, country before self.
Country before self.
Country before self.
So you sacrifice essentially yourself for the nation.
It's the pictures of professional competence and dedication.
Dedication
of
to the
all
country.
the personnel of armed forces to guard their country, to defend their national security. So that moment make us now in the strategic leadership to see how to organize, how to manage, how to awakening yourself. So in this time is the right time for our armed forces to awakening. We're facing the new era now. We're facing as I said before, that it's not the war now is becoming the total and smart war because we are entering the cyberspace.
Right. Pak Cepi, do you think that you mentioned a little bit about the geopolitical conflicts, tensions, and rivalry? You mentioned that at this point in time, is it essential for Indonesia to sort of align ourselves with bigger powers up there, Russia, China, the United States? How should we conduct ourselves in terms of establishing alliances with all of these big powers, which is also a question I'm going to ask you later on. Your response first, Pak Cepi.
So far, we have to stand still in our foreign policy. to free, not depend on the other one.
Right.
Yeah.
Free and active policy, yeah? Foreign
Yes,
policy.
Yeah, but at one point we cannot we cannot defend our position like that.
Right.
Yeah, we facing now with uncertainty. Yeah, you don't know whether you go to the west or to the east, but west and east is no longer anymore. And now we're facing a lot of changes, a lot of challenges. You see the AUKUS, for instance. AUKUS.
Yeah, Australia.
Australia,
AUKUS.
UK, and
And
United
US.
States. It's only the effort of United States to make the balance of power in Pacific. So the issue of South China Sea is appear from the United States.
Yeah.
The United States are jealous with the development of China.
Yeah, and its influence with that Silk and Belt initiative, road initiative.
At the same time, they got a lot of difficulties to deploy their power in Indo-Pacific, because since 2001, the United States focus on after 9/11.
Yeah.
Focus on the how to diminish the terrorists. So the power of the United States in the Pacific is decreasing. They close the base in Philippines. They reduce the power in the Pacific Command, and they're afraid they don't have any more coalition in the country in the Southeast Asia.
Right.
So they got the AUKUS. They have a lot of Western country in Southeast Asia, in Australia, Malaysia, Singapore, Philippines as well. But actually, the rise of China is a very scaring of United States. They're very afraid that China will take over the global dominance. You know, after the Cold War, United States of America become one and single superpower.
Right.
Yeah. But nowadays, they can say that as well, because they see the challenge of China is very scaring.
That's right.
To United States, in sense of not only the economic growth, but also the power of the military industry as well.
With the showcase that was ongoing a while back, right? So the threats not only economically, but also militarily, if we may say. I'd like to get your thoughts on this as well, Mbak Kuri. How do we, or how should we position ourselves amidst all of these influences and big powers around the globe trying to assert their influence in Indo-Pacific and in our region, and in particular towards Indonesia?
Yes, I agree with what Pak Cepi has said earlier. Much of them, especially if we care to look back at our independent and active foreign policy. So at the time, it was formulated to deal with the hegemonic, competitions. Back then, it was between the U.S. and the Soviet Union. And now we have the recurrence of such, hegemonic competitions again, but in different forms. And probably this time is much more difficult for us because the current hegemon, which is the U.S., is a declining power, and the revisionist, which is the China, is the rising power.
The U.S. is in major debt right now, trying to bring in money
at one
back
point,
into the country.
Their power might converge, and this is very the moment that we all have to be very careful how to anticipate. So, and there's also risk for us. For example, we are at risk being found in between, the two superpowers, and we don't want that to happen. And therefore, it's very important for us to craft defense diplomacy that can ensure first that the stability of the region is maintained despite what happened between the two superpowers, and the second is that Indonesia is taking active part of it.
Yeah.
But that's the intention, right? Capability is another thing that matters. We need more capabilities, and we also need to have more cooperation, defense diplomacy with other middle powers in the region, because that's the limit to what we can do alone.
Yeah.
Let me remind
But collectively, that's another
Yes.
question, yeah?
So let me remind you what happened in 2021 when our Nanggala submarine sank. So we had to ask help from other countries in the region who has submarine rescue vessels, and we have been offered many support from Singapore, Malaysia, India, Australia. So I think Indonesia will need those countries, and we also can offer to them what we can do to maintain the regional stability.
Right. Well, Pak JP, notably, Indonesia is the only member in Southeast Asia within the G20. We are the biggest economy in Southeast Asia, and yet the question remains whether or not Indonesia can lead in terms of defense and military prowess regionally in Southeast Asia. What do you think the sort of requirements and capabilities that Indonesia need to have to become a prominent power in the region, in Southeast Asia, and more importantly, taking an integral part in solving some of the regional homeworks that we have? You mentioned the South China Sea issues, and also just recently we have the Thailand-Cambodia sort of meltdown, border meltdown there. So how do we become the leader in the region with all of the might and prowess that we have at this point in time, Pak JP?
Maybe nowadays is the most difficult time for positioning our country.
Okay, why is that?
The first thing that we're facing the global disorder, we're facing the uncertainty situation, we're facing a lot of challenge, not only in the foreign policy,
Right.
but we have a lot of problem domestically. We have a lot problem that facing our national development. So it's make ourselves, it's make our country is. I think it's the most difficult position, the most difficult time to positioning our country in the geopolitics. Yeah.
In geopolitics.
So as we know that. We bought the aircraft from Turkey, we bought aircraft from France.
From France,
and
yeah.
before
Coming
that,
in next year, in 2026.
But
around 46 of them. So.
But before that, we have a lot of NATO standard equipment, NATO standard armament. It's a big challenge as well for our military personnel to recondition, to adaptation.
Right. Before we continue, Pak JP, Mbak Kuri, before we go to you, let's take a moment of silence with the song of Mengheningkan Cipta.
Terima kasih. Mengheningkan cipta selesai.
Undangan disilahkan duduk kembali. Pengucapan Sabta Marga.
Jalan. Haluan kanan. Jalan. Lari. Jalan. Haluan kanan. Jalan. Henti. Gerak. Luruskan. Lurus. Lapor. Pengucap Sabta Marga. Siap.
Laksanakan.
Laksanakan. Sabta Marga. 1. Kami warga negara Kesatuan Republik Indonesia yang bersendikan Pancasila. 2. Kami patriot Indonesia, pendukung serta pembela ideologi negara yang bertanggung jawab dan tidak mengenal menyerah.
3. Kami kesatria Indonesia yang bertakwa kepada Tuhan Yang Maha Esa serta membela kejujuran, kebenaran, dan keadilan. 4. Kami, prajurit Tentara Nasional Indonesia, adalah bayangkari negara dan bangsa Indonesia.
5. Kami prajurit Tentara Nasional Indonesia memegang teguh disiplin, patuh dan taat kepada pimpinan, serta menjunjung tinggi sikap dan kehormatan prajurit. 6. Kami prajurit Tentara Nasional Indonesia mengutamakan keperwiraan di dalam melaksanakan tugas, serta senantiasa siap sedia berbakti kepada negara dan bangsa.
7.
Kami prajurit Tentara Nasional Indonesia setia dan menepati janji serta sumpah prajurit. Pengucapan Sabta Marga telah dilaksanakan. Laporan selesai.
Terima kasih. Kembali ke tempat.
Kembali ke tempat. Balik kanan. Gerak. Haluan kiri, lari, maju. Jalan. Lari. Jalan. Haluan kiri. Jalan. Lari. Jalan. Henti. Gerak. Balik kanan. Gerak. Luruskan. Lurus.
Amanat Inspektur Upacara, pasukan diistirahatkan.
Parade, istirahat, di tempat. Tahu?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi. Salam sejahtera bagi kita sekalian. Shalom, salve, om swastiastu. Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Yang saya hormati Wakil Presiden Republik Indonesia, Saudara Gibran Raka Buming Raka. Yang saya hormati Presiden ke-6 Republik Indonesia, Jenderal TNI Purnawirawan Profesor Dr. Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono. Yang saya hormati Ibu Hajah Sinta Nuriyah Wahid, istri Presiden keempat Republik Indonesia, Wakil Presiden ke-6 Republik Indonesia, Jenderal TNI Purnawirawan Tri Sutrisno, Wakil Presiden ke-10 dan ke-12 Republik Indonesia, Bapak Haji Muhammad Yusuf Kalla, Wakil Presiden ke-11 Republik Indonesia, Profesor Dr. Haji Budiono, Wakil Presiden ke-13 Republik Indonesia, Profesor Kiai Haji Dr. Ma'ruf Amin, Ibu Hajah Soraya Hamzahas, istri Wakil Presiden ke-9 Republik Indonesia. Yang saya hormati Ketua Majelis Permusyawaratan Rakyat, Saudara Ahmad Muzani. Yang saya hormati Ketua Dewan Perwakilan Rakyat, Saudari Puan Maharani. Ketua Dewan Perwakilan Daerah, Saudara Sultan Bakhtiar Najamuddin. Menteri Pertahanan, Jenderal TNI Purnawirawan Safri Samsudin. Panglima Tentara Nasional Indonesia, Jenderal TNI Agus Subianto. Wakil Panglima Tentara Nasional Indonesia, Jenderal TNI Tandio Budi Revita. Kepala Staf Angkatan Darat, Jenderal TNI Maruli Simanjuntak. Kepala Staf Angkatan Laut, Laksamana TNI Muhammad Ali. Kepala Staf Angkatan Udara, Marsikal TNI Muhammad Tony Harjono. Para Menteri Koordinator, para Menteri, Kepala Badan, para Penasihat Khusus Presiden, Jaksa Agung Kapolri, Kepala BIN, para Wakil Menteri serta seluruh anggota Kabinet Merah Putih. Yang saya hormati, para Duta Besar dan para Atase Pertahanan Negara Sahabat. Yang saya hormati, pimpinan organisasi keagamaan dan kemasyarakatan, para keluarga pahlawan nasional, pahlawan revolusi dan para veteran yang hadir, para mantan panglima dan senior serta tokoh di lingkungan TNI, dan terutama seluruh prajurit TNI dan seluruh keluarga besar TNI di mana engkau berada, seluruh masyarakat Indonesia sebangsa dan setanah air. Pertama-tama, sebagai insan yang bertakwa, marilah kita tidak henti-hentinya memanjatkan puji syukur kehadirat Tuhan Maha Kuasa, Tuhan Maha Besar bagi umat Islam Allah Subhanahu wa taala atas segala karunia yang diberikan kepada kita dan kepada bangsa kita, serta segala kedamaian dan nikmat yang kita nikmati hingga hari ini. Saudara-saudara, atas nama pemerintah negara bangsa dan rakyat Indonesia dan atas nama pribadi saya menyampaikan ucapan selamat hari ulang tahun ke-80 Tentara Nasional Indonesia. Dirgahayu TNI. Saudara-saudara sekalian, marilah kita sejenak ingat sejarah perjalanan bangsa kita dan sejarah perjalanan TNI. Kita faham dan kita mengerti bahwa Tentara Nasional Indonesia lahir dari rakyat Indonesia. TNI adalah anak kandung rakyat Indonesia. TNI berasal dari rakyat. TNI timbul dan tenggelam bersama rakyat Indonesia. TNI selalu mengabdi kepada bangsa dan rakyat, dan TNI siap mengorbankan jiwa dan raganya untuk bangsa dan rakyat Indonesia. Saudara-saudara sekalian, terutama para prajurit TNI yang saya banggakan, di tengah ketidakpastian lingkungan global saat ini, TNI merupakan benteng NKRI. TNI adalah tulang punggung pertahanan Indonesia yang menjadi penjamin kedaulatan kita. Bahwa TNI harus siap melindungi segenap bangsa Indonesia dan seluruh tumpah darah Indonesia. TNI harus siap mengorbankan segala-galanya untuk keselamatan bangsa dan rakyat Indonesia. Saudara-saudara sekalian, atas nama negara bangsa dan pemerintah Indonesia, saya ucapkan penghargaan dan terima kasih atas prestasi TNI sampai saat ini. TNI selalu tampil di saat kritis. TNI tidak akan ragu-ragu untuk mengutamakan kepentingan bangsa dan negara dan rakyat di atas segala kepentingan yang lain. Saudara-saudara sekalian, selain kita harus siap menghadapi segala kemungkinan, berarti TNI harus menyiapkan diri, terus membina diri, melatih diri, menggembleng diri, mendalami segala ilmu yang dibutuhkan, mengikuti perkembangan zaman, mengikuti perkembangan teknologi. TNI tidak boleh ketinggalan, TNI tidak boleh lengah. Saudara-saudara sekalian, untuk itu TNI memerlukan kepemimpinan yang terbaik. Saya atas nama negara, bangsa dan rakyat, saya ingatkan semua unsur pimpinan TNI dari setiap eselon, dari setiap tingkatan harus selalu membina diri dan harus selalu memberi contoh. Kepemimpinan di TNI harus kepemimpinan keteladanan, harus kepemimpinan ingarso sung telodo, harus memberi contoh di depan. Tidak ada tempat untuk pemimpin-pemimpin yang tidak kompeten, yang tidak profesional, yang tidak mengerti tugasnya. Panglima TNI dan Kepala Staf terus-menerus saya perintahkan menilai pemimpin-pemimpin yang ada di TNI. Prajurit kita berhak dan menuntut kepemimpinan yang terbaik. Kepemimpinan yang terbaik. Saya memberi izin kepada Panglima TNI dan Kepala Staf dalam rangka seleksi kepemimpinan tidak perlu terlalu memperhitungkan senioritas. Yang penting prestasi, pengabdian, cinta tanah air. Saudara-saudara sekalian, tugas yang dibebankan kepada TNI tidak ringan. Saudara-saudara, tidak perlu lagi kita tutup-tutupi bahwa kekayaan alam kita sangat besar. Ratusan tahun Nusantara ini selalu diganggu, diinvasi oleh kekuatan-kekuatan asing. Mereka ke kita untuk mengambil kekayaan kita. Sampai hari ini, sampai detik ini, masih banyak kekayaan kita yang dicuri, yang diselundupkan, yang diambil oleh kekuatan-kekuatan yang tidak bertanggung jawab. TNI harus introspeksi diri. Dengan semua organisasi yang kita miliki, TNI harus tanggap, TNI harus bantu penegak hukum, TNI harus bantu pemerintah daerah, pemerintah pusat untuk menjaga kekayaan kita, sumber daya alam kita. Kekayaan kita harus kita selamatkan, harus kita hemat, harus kita kelola untuk kita hilangkan kemiskinan dari bangsa Indonesia. Kekayaan tersebut sangat penting agar bangsa Indonesia menjadi bangsa yang maju, negara yang modern, negara yang adil dan makmur sesuai cita-cita kebangsaan. Saudara-saudara sekalian, terima kasih saudara sudah aktif sekali dengan membantu pembangunan ekonomi demi kepentingan rakyat Indonesia. Saudara sekalian, sekali lagi, jangan berhenti berlatih, jangan berhenti belajar. Saya perintahkan Panglima TNI, Kepala Staf, kaji terus perkembangan teknologi dan sains, kaji terus organisasi. Bila perlu organisasi yang usang diganti dengan organisasi yang tepat untuk kepentingan bangsa Indonesia. Ikuti perkembangan teknologi, cyber, teknologi, kecerdasan sekarang ini, artificial intelligence, ikuti, jangan ketinggalan. Sekali lagi, Dirgahayu ke-80 TNI, selamat bertugas, selamat menjalankan amanah mulia untuk rakyat, bangsa dan negara. Saya juga ucapkan terima kasih kepada istri-istri para prajurit, kepada anak-anak para prajurit yang dengan tabah, dengan setia mendukung suami-suaminya, dengan setia merawat anak-anaknya selama suaminya bertugas di tempat-tempat yang berbahaya. Saya selalu berdoa yang Maha Kuasa akan selalu beserta para prajurit dan keluarga besar TNI. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera bagi kita sekalian. Shalom Salve. Om Santi 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 Om. Nama budaya, salam kebajikan. Perhatian, selesai.
Siap. Out.
Undangan dimohon berdiri. Andika Bayangkari. Undangan disilahkan duduk kembali. Laporan Komandan Upacara kepada Inspektur Upacara.
Upacara telah dilaksanakan. Laporan selesai.
And you were still watching live visuals from the National Monument of Central Jakarta, Indonesia, where moments ago, the President of the Republic of Indonesia, Prabowo Subianto, just concluded his remarks for the ceremony of the 80th anniversary of Indonesian Armed Forces unfolding as we speak right now. I'd like to get insights from our guests joining us for the program today. First, over to you, Mbak Kuri. A lot of things to unpack from the quite concise and rather short delivery of address there from the President of the Republic of Indonesia, but it's full of things that he needs to sort of signify and emphasize on the progress and the awakening of our Indonesian armed forces. Walk us through some of the key moments and highlights that you have made note of.
Yes, as I've took note some of interesting issues that Pak Prabowo mentioned in his speech. The first is he mentioned about the peacekeeping. So Indonesia is ready to take more participation, to lead, in fact,
a bigger role. He's meaning by saying that, yeah?
So there's intention for bigger roles, but we also need to check the current capability. But I think this intention fits the narratives and the reality, especially in the context of managing issue in the Middle East. As we know that Indonesia has been trusted by most of the conflicting parties, including Israel. For example, when we deploy our UN peacekeeping mission, or the Garuda contingent in the Lebanon UNIFIL mission. Not many countries have been received by the conflicting parties, and we are among the few who gain the trust. And we are, in fact, if I'm not mistaken, we are currently the largest contingent in the UN peacekeeping mission there.
But on that note, I'd like to get your insight again. But before that, we're going to go over to our colleague Alma Safitri, who is actually right there at Monument National, or rather National Monument of Indonesia, where she sees the first-hand account of what transpired over at the venue of the ceremony. Alma, what more can you tell us about today's ceremony and all the actions that's taken place at the National Monument? Alma, your report, please.
Yes, Rahmat reporting from Central Jakarta. The President Prabowo Subianto will lead the ceremony while the three branches of the Indonesian National Armed Force from the Navy, Army and Air Force will showcase their joint capabilities at the National Monument Monas. The 80th and 10th anniversary celebration is open to the public so people can witness the ceremony through parade, military equipment display, and special operations demonstrations such as counter-terrorism, riot control, and disaster response. So here at Monas, so many people come from Jakarta or maybe from outside Jakarta to capture this moment with their family and their beloved ones. From the air, Rahmat, the Air Force will deploy 156 aircraft of various types performing maneuver over Jakarta skies. As you see now, to support the event, the Air Force will also mobilize 8,260 personnel. Combat vehicles from the Air Force's Rapid Action Troops Corps will take part in the military equipment parade. Meanwhile, for the information, the Army is preparing two alternative routes for its equipment parade. The first circles the Monas area via Medan Merdeka South, East, West, and North Streets. The second passes through the Tugu Tani area, loops around Kuitang before Senen, and returns to Monas through the Gambir Gate. The final route will be decided by the TNI. So Rahmat, you will see more showcase from the TNI, and we will give you the update soon. So stay with us. Alma and camera person Arya reporting for TVRI World.
Well, great reports there, Alma Safitri and Arya reporting from the National Monument, bringing us up to speed with the latest from the main venue of the ceremony for the 80 years of Indonesian Armed Forces. I'd like to go back to you, just cutting back from what you've just said earlier about our dedications with the peacekeeping efforts globally. And thus far, we've participated in UNIFIL, for example, as you said, but also echoing on what President Prabowo Subianto has said at the last week's general debate of the 80th sessions of United Nations General Assembly, saying that we are ready to deploy 20,000, I quote, of our sons and daughters for the peacekeeping efforts of the United Nations all around the world. Are we exactly equipped and ready for that from your analysis?
Well, we are actually welcome President's intention to send, sons and daughters.
Well, we are resolving all of the other issues domestically, right?
Yeah, but it implies that we gonna have the same opportunity for men and women, because usually, previously the issue is like we are lacking of women participation in the peacekeeping operation, and one of the biggest challenges is actually coming from the fact that women peacekeeping needs to secure permission from the family. It's like more of domestic issues rather than national issues.
Yeah.
And I think by encouraging more women participation, we will have increased number of women peacekeeping.
Yeah.
Other than that, I would see that we need to overhaul the training facilities in Sentul that we have. So far, we managed to send between 2,000 to 3,000 peacekeeping personnel per year, and to upgrade the number up to 20,000, which is around five times,
if not 6 times. Yeah.
5 times. Yeah. But I think this is also a good intention, a good signaling to the international community that Indonesia is gearing up to military readiness, but for benign purposes.
Right, right. What are the key highlights that you've taken note of what President's address earlier at the ceremony?
Yeah, there are 2 things that I took notes as well. The first is the fact that Pak Prabowo mentions about foreign powers, yes,
and external influences. He mentioned that a lot in his address.
Yes,
here
he
and there.
did. Yeah, although I didn't count how many, but he did mention it a lot. And the second is that the need for TNI and the people, to unite. I think this reflects the concern, the acknowledgement that we are at risk of being found between the superpowers that currently competing, and we have to be ready for that. Although Pak Prabowo need to clarify actually what's the foreign power that he meant, and in what way they could affect us here in Indonesia. But let me cite the current survey conducted by the Singapore ISIS. So they have these annual surveys on the perception of Southeast Asian elites towards lots of things, including there is one question about which one to choose if you have to choose between US and China.
Are we going into the third part of the... That is very scary.
Well, the reality
there.
is the past 2 years, some of Southeast Asian elites have tilting towards China more. So
yeah, it's a bit of opening a can of worms there that we don't want to open just yet. But in the meantime, we have a report coming in before I go to you, Pak Cepi. The Indonesian military, or TNI, has emerged from the revolutionary period following Indonesia's independence in 1945. Its history reflects the country's political and social changes, marked by multiple name changes, significant shifts in its role, and periods of both political and influence and democratic reform.
The history of Indonesia's armed forces, Tentara Nasional Indonesia, or TNI, traces back to the turbulent period of World War II and the struggle for Indonesian independence. Before Indonesia declared independence, the military presence in the Dutch East Indies was dominated by the Royal Dutch East Indies Army, known as NIL, and naval forces of the Royal Netherlands Navy. These forces were primarily colonial, composed of Dutch soldiers and recruited indigenous people, including Ambonese and Minahasan. During the Japanese occupation in World War II, the Japanese Imperial Army established an Indonesian volunteer force called PETA, or Pembela Tanah Air, meaning defenders of the homeland. This force was trained by the Japanese to assist in their wartime efforts, but became a vital foundation for the future Indonesian military leadership and fighters in the independence movement.
And you are still watching a special report here on TVR World, shining a light on the euphoric moments of celebrations of 80 years of Indonesian Armed Forces, where currently, as we speak right now, all the actions are still happening in central Jakarta at the National Monument. And currently, the showcase of another air show of Indonesia is right there happening. Let's join in and all the merriment and festivity.
Dengan dua pesawat tempur F-16 Fighting Falcon dengan call sign Combat Flight. Dapat kita saksikan di layar videotron. Pesawat target bersiap melintas dari belakang podium dan dikejar oleh dua pesawat F-16 Fighting Falcon Tentara Nasional Indonesia.
And we are taking to the sky as the air show for the main program and the showcase right here for the 80th anniversary of Indonesian Armed Forces. I'd like to go over to Pak Cepi now. Pak Cepi, I saw the writing right there on the helmet of the pilot saying Merlin. And earlier at the beginning we have Jupiter. Tell us what this particular troops or Air Force sign is all about. What's their prominent traits of the Merlin pilots?
The name or the trademark on the helmet, it's representing the team or representing the name of the pilot.
I see.
The Merlin is one among
many, yes?
Many others. But team, aerobatic team and the other team, they have a very unique, very specific. It's according to the aircraft performance itself. Jupiter using the propeller, and now we're looking at the F-16, it's full jet aircraft. It's different.
Oh, this
different
is jet aircraft.
Yeah, okay. Different type of aircraft.
Right. So the vessels is also different. That the vessels that they are operating, the aircraft that they are operating from Jupiter and Merlin and other distinctions.
Yeah. Many aircraft, many teams, they have their own name with proud. Yeah. They have the team, the name of the team. They have the name of the pilot itself.
Yeah.
Individually. I don't know exactly what the name of the Merlin. Merlin is representing team or representing the pilot individual.
Right. The maneuver is extraordinary there. I believe, we are looking only like 10% of the real thing that's happening on the ground. I believe it is such a spectacular, fantastic showcase of our air show. But Cepi, you were once the distinguished and honored Chief of Staff of our Indonesian Air Force, Pak Cepi. From the moment that you serve our country to the time that it is now, how do you compare the progress that we've made and the pride that we bear as Indonesian Air Force showcase and bring to the world?
Yeah, if you're talking about the Air Force, we are not talking about only the aircraft, because actually we don't have yet attention or care with the air and space, with the Air Force, with the Navy.
Right.
We right now still focus on continent. We still focus on the land power instead of sea power and air power.
I see.
But nowadays we're facing the how the development of aviation industry, in case of military industry as a whole, air and space is very important.
Right.
Air and space is the future of humankind. Air and space of the future of human life. So we have to give more attention to the air power.
Right.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the people only see the air and space in sense of air show and aircraft accident. That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
The attention so far, you're saying.
That's right. We don't realize that now Indonesia don't have full sovereignty in the air, in the air national air sovereignty.
Right.
There are some of our national air territory.
Are you saying there's a lot of violations in our airspace?
A lot of violation, and more than that, a part of our air territory is managed by the other country.
Right. We're still in discussion for the flight information radar with Singapore. That's something that's been on the table for quite a while.
That's right.
Yeah.
It started a long time ago. It started with the colonial management.
That's right.
The UK, British colonial in Singapore, and Dutch colonial in Batavia at that time.
Right.
And sad to say, very sorry to say that in 2022 we have an agreement with Singapore, and we delegate again.
It was during your time, 2022.
2022.
2022.
Yeah, just 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
I thought it was 2002, which is around your time.
No.
Yeah.
We agreed that a part of our air territory managed by the
Singaporean Authority?
Aviation Authority of the Singapore. By that, we are not have the air sovereignty on that area.
Right.
The area that belong to us, the area is above our territory. We cannot doing the three things.
Right.
Use of airspace, law enforcement, and air. If you're talking about air sovereignty, it consists of three things: use of airspace, control of the air, and law enforcement. If you delegate the management of our air territory to the other country, we
lose a part of our sovereignty, one-third of our sovereignty.
Yeah, so that we cannot doing that. So it means we are not sovereign. We don't have sovereignty
within our national airspace.
Yeah. It's against the international convention. Chicago Convention 1944 said the air sovereignty is complete and exclusive.
Yeah. Do you think that someday down the line it will become a threat towards our national security, sir? All of these breaches in our national airspace?
Yeah. Of course, they belong to the other country. The authority of the air territory to manage air territory on that area is not mine.
Right.
Yeah. They're against the international regulation. That's again our national regulation as well. Yeah.
Okay.
In the national law. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Right. But earlier, for the second showcase of our Air Force, we get to see the actions of the F-16. Pak Cepi, walk us through some of the great things about F-16s that we need to showcase on behalf of our Indonesian Air Force. What's so great about the F-16?
We cannot value the aircraft itself, because if you're talking about the aircraft, the fighter aircraft, the fighter craft, the fighter aircraft, or the fighter jet, or whatever, it's only the subsystem of the whole system, the air defense system, national defense system. Yeah. So that we can talk about, oh, this aircraft is this like this, or this aircraft. No. Because the air defense system is the whole system.
It's the collective
the aircraft
devices
is just
together.
one among the whole system.
So it's not a singular entity, but rather a part,
Yeah.
as you said, a subsystem of the entire.
Sure. We have to build
defense
the system first.
All right.
And then we're talking about the subsystem, especially about the aircraft, about the control on command and control system, about the satellite now, about the AWAC aircraft, airborne warning and control system.
Right.
We are now facing the network-centric system. It's the total war, and more than that, smart war.
Smart war.
Yeah.
We'll talk about smart war. I guess this is also one point that was touched by the President of the Republic of Indonesia through his address today, which is on the technological warfare and cyber warfare. And thus we need to elevate our technologies, our how-to knowledge within the digital space. Share with us your thoughts and your analysis of the imminent threats that Indonesia is facing in terms of its technological advancements and the way to anticipate digital warfare right now. Cyber war is mentioned by Pak Cepi earlier.
Yeah, thank you, Mas. I think we agree that technology is the determinant in today's modern warfare. And the superiority in technology is what matters. And we need to have access to this kind of technology. And I'm not talking about fighter jets, you know, all the big major conventional
platforms. It's
a
whole different space that we're flying in.
It is, but now we are also talking about the drones, small and big, that is currently taking the central
precision strike
role, yes, in the, for example, the Ukraine war. And we also need to talk about the long, distance missiles, precision strikes that's been exchanged by, Israel and Iran, and also India and Pakistan. And I think first the lesson learned is that we need to follow the development of which technologies that is effective, but at the same time is more economical because of our budget limitations. So.
Using drone is more efficient
now. not to use the gold standard, but let's see what's effective in the battlefield, but affordable. Therefore, it will be sustainable for us. I think yesterday I read in newspaper that the Chinese has sent their experts to Russia to learn about how drones being used and even implemented with artificial intelligence during the Ukraine war. The second is that we need to be very mindful not to take lessons learned into decisive and quick procurement, because we need to adjust our doctrine, but we need to adjust the way we do things in our armed forces before we procure such technologies. So, I think in the military, there's something called OODA loops. We need to observe first before we make decision whether to adopt or adapt the technology that we're having with the currently used in the modern warfare.
Right.
The third is when it comes to adopting technology, Indonesia is actually not too far behind. We have already created the cyber units in the TNI. We've procured and created units of drones, and we are in the middle of training more pilots and adjusting our doctrines in order to operate that in our own territory. And therefore, I think Indonesia is on the right tracks.
Right. But in the era of artificial intelligence, and more scarily, generative artificial intelligence, where the boundaries of truth and reality sometimes extremely blurred, and a lot of these threats are coming in from this digital space. How do we deal with this incoming attacks, essentially, from the advancements of AI?
Yes, Mas. That will be fall under category of gray zone operations.
Gray zone operations.
Or hybrid warfare, which means that the enemy could use non-conventional weapons and non-conventional forces in order to gain something that usually can only be secure with military operation. For example, what we are currently seeing in South China Sea is also part of the gray zone operation. We've seen underwater unmanned vehicle UUVs being sent into our territories. We've seen some countries try to shape the narratives of what happened in the areas, in accordance to their interests, trying to influence
collecting data, which is at this point people are saying is even more precious than oil.
It is, because by having the data, they could, craft something that is more precise, targeting individuals, to change the mind of the individuals and community.
And driving the narrative of what's happening too.
It is. Well, the European Union has, naming for that, which is FIMI, the Foreign Information, I forgot, Foreign Information.
Misinterpretation
and intervention. But in short, it's about how some countries have used information and use it as foreign policy tools in order to gain some military objectives.
Right. Now, as we're still watching all the military showcase currently being simulated, essentially being exhibited for the public to see and to admire. This is, of course, an annual celebration, an annual thing to do by our military forces. But looking at all of these showcase that is being presented right now, how much do we know about year-to-year strategies that Indonesia has been implementing in terms of advancing its military prowess? I mean, a lot of countries in recent, we talked about this, how President Prabowo Subianto was present in a lot of military parades around the globe, notably from very powerful countries, beginning with India in January 2025, just a few months into his presidency, and then in China, and then also in Singapore. So a lot of these nations have showcased, in China, for example, one of the biggest in at least 80 years, they said. And it was such a strong presence, too, on behalf of our presidents. Do you think that having established all of these presence internationally at very dominantly strong, militarily powerful countries will sort of influence Indonesia's stance, will sway the way we developed military and defense cooperation with all of these powerful countries, Maguri?
I think the answer is definitely yes. There's some saying about, with great power comes great responsibility.
Are you quoting Spider-Man right now?
Not Spider-Man. It was actually.
I think Spider-Man quoted it from somewhere else.
It was, if I'm not mistaken, it was created for one of U.S. presidents. So Indonesia is a rising power. So it has, increasing standing in international community, and therefore we feel compelled to do more and. We can't just have good intention. It has to be accompanied by good capability. And one of the tools for foreign policy is, of course, military.
Right.
And then, also the second thing is when it comes to responsibility is that you can do your diplomacy. Some saying, there's a saying, you can speak softly but carry big sticks, so that people will listen to you. So Indonesia choose to be the one that speaks softly. We care about other countries,
but highly influential.
Peace. But we have to make sure that we have the capability to make sure what we want is the one happening. So we have to be the one shaping the regional stability in the way that we want it to be, not in a way that the superpowers want it to be.
Right. And now let's take a look back domestically. I'd like to get your insights and opinions on this, Pak JP, because just recently our country, especially in the capital and a lot of big cities in our countries, were faced with
rising insurgencies and people taking to the street, expressing their opinions and stances against some politicians, some policies that our government have been making. And on that note, there's this rising conversation as to how the military's dual role within the administrations of President Prabowo Subianto, the social political role, has starting to rise again, especially involving the TNI in national programs. We see them involved just recently in the free nutritious meals and also in agriculture. Does this in any way, Pak Cepi, indicate that our president wants to restore the TNI's dual functions as it was in the administrations of President Soeharto a long time ago?
Yeah, the people look at the dual function with a lot of different opinion, but but in general, the people don't like dual function anymore.
Yeah, it's not something that the public desires. You're saying
in a country with democratic system, we don't allow the dual function. Yeah. Maybe it's very useful for the short term. But in the long run, it's create a lot of dispute between the military, politician, businessman, and bureaucracy. And it's not good for the country with the democratic system. Samuel Huntington said that if the businessman is a businessman, it's very clear. They're looking for the money. Politicians is very clear. They're looking for the power. And in which position the professional? Military is a professional, should be the professional. Yeah. With dual function, so that we're facing the reality, like the military, we don't heard who's the military professional, but we heard only military politician and military businessman. That's not good for the democratic system in the country. Yeah. It's not good for the civil society. It's not good for the national development. It's not good for, if we're looking for the solution of any riot, the demonstration with others, we have to look the root cause first. Military is not trained for the business, for become the businessman or become the politician. Military education and training system, they have to train as a professional, as a military professional. Military professional have the, let me tell you that in 1992, I got the special course in United States Air Force Academy. In that academy, I talked with the commandant of cadet. Why all the cadets in United States Air Force Academy have to learn, have to study art, any kind of art. They can choose, but mandatory. I asked why. Because in this academy, in this institution, we not produce robot.
I see.
We producing officer and gentleman.
Right.
We producing the military professional with balance of left and right brain. So the humanity is still the basic platform for the military personnel, for the men and women in uniform. Country before self. That's professional. That's a professional and competency of the military personnel. So dual functions is destroy all of them.
And it's not even a quick solutions to the nation's problems, you're saying?
Maybe good for the short time, but in the long run, it's destroy anything.
Very powerful words there. Share with us your thoughts on this matter, Putri.
Yes, so what I remember about old order and dual function, because I was university student at the time, so I remember it.
And highly critical too, I believe.
So at the time, the military was highly politicized. Yeah. And then the civilian and the political spheres, not only political, but also social and business, are heavily militarized. So we have everything upside down. Yeah. And we don't want that, and we definitely don't have that in, we don't have a place for that in democracy. So, but I think what Prabowo is trying to do is not to bring back, dual function, but to widen TNI's role in the military operation other than
to
war.
contribute more to the country,
Yes,
you're saying.
and he has laid the foundation for this in when he issued the new defense strategy of big islands and strategic island clusters back in 2021. And also in his political manifesto, the Nawacita, the Astacita, sorry.
Astacita, yeah.
Oh, it's got
that was the previous one.
Yeah. So the Astacita mentioned about, he makes security and defense and, self-reliance in almost all aspects of economy. And using those tools as foundation, he then crafted a policy that paved the way for more military roles in the public sphere, but in the context of military operation other than war. Of course, we have to be clear about this. More participation is only welcome, first, if it is only the TNI that has the expertise. If we still have expertise in the civilian, then we should prioritize the civilian first. The second, there have to be a clear regulation as to who can assign the military. I mean, as per regulation, it is the president that can deploy the military, and in some cases, the president will lead the approval of the parliaments. And the third, that by engaging military in more of public domain, it actually risks TNI being seen as a public, no longer as a trusted, institution, because the public will be exposed more with the weaknesses of our military, and we don't really want that. We want a military that is strong, professional, that we can count on when there's strategic surprise threatening the existence of our country.
And we don't want any co-optation to our military powers as well when they start to deviate from the professionalism of being a member of our military defense. And in the meantime, we're going to take a quick break with our conversations and tune in to all the parasailing actions right there happening at the national monuments. Let's take a look at all the grandeur of our military actions there.
Indonesia.
Bendera TNI Angkatan Udara, bendera Tentara Nasional Indonesia, bendera Kementerian Pertahanan Republik Indonesia, dan bendera merah putih. Hadirin yang berbahagia, bersiap mendarat dari sebelah kiri tribun kehormatan. Bendera TNI Angkatan Udara. Bersiap mendarat di hadapan hadirin semua. Break and Tasco! Bersiap mendarat dari sebelah kiri tribun kehormatan. Bendera TNI Angkatan Laut. Bersiap mendarat dari sebelah kiri tribun kehormatan. Bendera Tentara Nasional Indonesia Angkatan Darat.
And it's coming in from the National Monument of Jakarta, Indonesia, where right now the Indonesian Armed Forces, and this is the Indonesian Army there, just landed right there in the front yard of the National Monument, showcasing the parachuting capability of Indonesian military. We have to give credits where credits are due, and they managed to land just in such positions on the designated area of the ceremony, signifying true credibility of our military personnel. And again, if you've been watching in the last few minutes, we've seen the President of the Republic of Indonesia, Prabowo Subianto, seated there at the main podium, just in total awe and giving applause to every single, if we may say, performer or our soldiers there, showcasing their true capability for the nations. Yet another one taking place right now as they are lapelling down from the top of the National Monument with red and white smoke. There's a blue one there, which I don't know what that is for. Is that that at some point that looks like a French flag there, but we believe that the red and white signifies Indonesian national flag. The blue, maybe it also symbolizes a part of Indonesia's contributions in international military, or rather peacekeeping effort at this point in time. And you're still watching live visuals that we are bringing in from the National Monument celebrating 80 years of Indonesia's military force. Also invited, as you see, they're seated among the audience, Honorable Excellencies, ambassadors, and or their representatives from friendly countries, among other, marveling at Indonesia's capability and capacity, and meaning that 80 years into its establishment, we are a strong entity, not only within our country, but also internationally. And if you are listening to a song currently being played to the audience over at the National Monument, it is a song that symbolizes patriotism and nationalism being truly showcased and put into front
row for the whole entire nation to rejoice. And we are approaching the final moments of the entire programs for today's 80 years celebrations of Indonesian Armed Forces. But could you share with us your thoughts that crosses your minds as you watch all of these amazing things worth marveling at from our Indonesian military force?
I am humbled actually watching this. And,
as a citizen, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's been quite a while since we see this level of readiness from our military. I know that some people tend to look down upon parade, you know, what's the parade? It's only for showcasing, but not, you know, what's the real capability lies. But I think this moment also managed to showcase that Indonesia has increased its level of readiness. It's not easy, you know, to orchestrate so many performance at the same time in such a small venue. Yeah,
that's
so
right.
I think it has to be well planned, well executed, and congratulations for our Indonesian National Defense Forces.
And Bakuri, also to note the fact that this is the inaugural anniversary of Armed Forces, attended by the President of the Republic of Indonesia, Prabowo Subianto, in his first year of administration. How special is it for him, do you think?
I think Pak Prabowo has always had this intention to modernize the military to the level that he used to see in the past. Yeah, I mean, like,
that is the main source of inspiration.
It is, and he has, you know, attended so many parades in other countries before. So he has this sort of benchmark that he wants Indonesia to close in on.
Elevated standards, you're saying.
It is. So I'm sure that when he watches this, he'll feel proud, and I think what he need to think next time is how this could be sustained and elevate even more.
Right. Pak Cepi, what is going through your mind right now? I mean, this is something that you've witnessed throughout your entire career, throughout your entire time serving this country, year and time and again, you watch all of these festivities and showcases. How is it different for you this year, watching the celebration for the 80th
celebration
anniversary?
or anniversary is not mean just to celebrate, but to reflect.
Yeah, it's the momentum of it.
To reflect for the future, what we will do in the future with a lot of challenges now. So, in my opinion, we have to have the national strategic think tank. We have to have the think tank. We have to have the research and development institute
involving academicians. You're saying,
because the
and experts
in the leadership strategies, the president.
Right. Continue, sir. And
what the president wants maybe is not match what the country need.
Right.
So they have to have the contribution from the think tank, contribution from the research and development institute. So what the leadership want match with what the country need.
Right. So we serve the most dire needs of our countries, and that is the true purpose of our military and our defense systems, you're saying, Pak Cepi. And we are approaching yet another key moments here for the 80th anniversary of Indonesia's armed forces, as we see marching bands there parading in front of the crowds, watching, infusing energy into the entire celebration today, taking place and unfolding as we speak at the National Monument of Central Jakarta, Indonesia. And just moments earlier, we saw the parades of helicopters carrying the national flags of Indonesia and also the emblems, we believe, of the Indonesian military forces. We have the Marine, the Navy, and also the the Air Force as well. And this is the defile that has been preceded by the marching band. And it's been mentioned just now that it will showcase the military prowess of Indonesian armed forces. Coming in just moments from now.
Derap langkah defile pasukan hari ini dimeriahkan oleh flight helikopter Trimatra dengan callsign merah putih flight sebagai flight leader Komandan Skadron Udara 7 Letnan Kolonel Penerbang Wibowo Jumeno Haryanto.
Hadirin yang berbahagia, melintas selanjutnya adalah drum band IPD, drum band Gita Abdi Praja. Drum Band Politeknik Transportasi Darat Indonesia (STTD), Kementerian Perhubungan, Jata Wiratama. Adalah drum band dari Banser Wonosobo, Gema Nawa Kartika. Hadirin yang berbahagia, sesaat lagi akan melintas di hadapan kita bersama adalah drum band Politeknik Ahli Usaha Perikanan, Genta Bahana Samudra. hormati, melintas selanjutnya Drum Band SMA Negeri 3 Taruna Angkasa, Jawa Timur. Hadirin yang berbahagia, melintas selanjutnya adalah Drum Band Taruna Akademi TNI, Akademi Militer Gendarang Suling Sanka Lokananta, Akademi Angkatan Laut Gendarang Suling Gita Jala Taruna, dan Akademi Angkatan Udara Gita Dirgantara. Hadirin yang kami hormati, melintas selanjutnya adalah kelompok lambang kesatuan sebagai pasukan pembawa panji-panji TNI. Tridharma Eka Karma, Kartika Eka Paksi, Jales Veva Jayamahe, dan Swabuana Paksa. Di bawah pimpinan Mayor Jenderal TNI Eko Susetyo MMMTRH yang sehari-harinya menjabat sebagai Komandan Pusat Kesenjataan Kavaleri. Hadirin yang kami hormati, adapun kesatuan defile pada pagi hari ini berada di bawah satu komando komandan defile, Marsikal Madya TNI Denny Muiz SEMM, lulusan Akademi Angkatan Udara tahun 1993, yang sehari-harinya menjabat sebagai Panglima Korps Pasukan Gerak Cepat. Melintas di belakangnya kelompok perwira tinggi TNI di bawah pimpinan Letnan Jenderal TNI Kunto Arif Wibowo, jabatan Panglima Komando Gabungan Wilayah Pertahanan 1. Melintas selanjutnya adalah sniper dan drone TNI. Hadirin yang kami hormati, saat ini melintas dua brigade polisi militer TNI. Selanjutnya, Brigade Wanita TNI. 1 Brigade Pasukan Pengamanan Presiden, Pas Pampres. Melintas selanjutnya dan memberikan penghormatan kepada Presiden Republik Indonesia adalah 2 Brigade Kopassus di bawah pimpinan Brigadir Jenderal TNI Raden Nasrul Faturrahman yang sehari-harinya menjabat sebagai Komandan Grup 1 Kopassus. Berani, benar, berhasil. Komando.
Well, there you have it, all the euphoric and joyous moments of celebrations over the national monument in central Jakarta, Indonesia, as we celebrate 80 years of Indonesian Armed Forces. And towards this final moments of celebrations, essentially, Mbak Kuri, walk us through your final hopes and expectations in short for our Indonesian Armed Forces, please.
Yes, Mas. Now, having seen the parade, being humbled by it, by all the planning and good executions done by our military personnel, I would like to say again, congratulations, TNI. Thank you for safeguarding the nation. And we hope that the TNI will stay professional.
Exactly.
Being the main component of our defense systems, and also being the force that other countries have to reckon with, have to acknowledge and will appreciate. In the future, there will be challenges.
Yeah.
We are now currently in the midst of geopolitical turmoils, and in the era where the international communities are divided. Sometimes we have to choose friends at some geopolitical costs. But with TNI being strong, showcasing good deterrence, good readiness, I'm sure that Indonesia will be able to navigate, the whole geopolitical dynamics to the better place.
Right, very well said there. And with that remarks, we have to close our program of special reports at the anniversary of Indonesian Armed Forces, the awakening of the archipelago, coming to you live from Jakarta, Indonesia. I have to extend my gratitude and appreciations to all of our guests today. Director of Research of Indo-Pacific Strategic Intelligence, ISI Indonesia, who's also a lecturer at Bina Nusantara University, Kuri Maharani. Thank you very much, Mbak Kuri. And previously also our guest who had to leave earlier, the Indonesian Air Force Chief of Staff of 2002 to 2005, former Chief of Staff, Bapak Cepi Hakim, who joined us earlier. Thank you very much indeed. And with that, we close our program today. I'm Rahmat Idris from Jakarta, Indonesia. Thank you so much for watching our special report today. Bye-bye.
Hadirin menyusul di belakangnya. 1 Brigade Kodam 3 Siliwangi. Kami hormati, menyusul selanjutnya Satuan TNI Angkatan Laut di bawah pimpinan Mayor Jenderal TNI Marinir Ili Dasili yang sehari-harinya menjabat sebagai Komandan Pasmar 1 yang terdiri dari 1 Brigade Koarmada RI. Melintas di hadapan kita bersama dan memberikan penghormatan kepada Presiden Republik Indonesia adalah 1 Brigade Korps Marinir Jalesu Bumyamka Jayamahe Jalesveva Jayamahe. Selanjutnya, 1 Brigade Pasukan Kodaeral. Selanjutnya, Satuan TNI Angkatan Udara di bawah pimpinan Marsekal Pertama TNI Ahmad Sunawar Eskodri Emhan, jabatan Komandan Divisi Parako Korpasgat. Melintas di belakangnya, 1 Brigade Aircrew. Melintas di hadapan kita bersama 1 Brigade Korps Pasukan Gerak Cepat Korpasgat Karmanye Fadi Karaste Mavalesu Kadacana Komando. Melintas selanjutnya di hadapan kita bersama 1 Brigade Swabuana Paksa. Hadirin, melintas di hadapan kita bersama 1 Brigade Kelompok K9 TNI.
Hadirin dan tamu undangan yang kami hormati, sementara defile pasukan dan alutsista berlangsung, mari kita alihkan pandangan ke langit Monumen Nasional Indonesia.